The man who would like to take Governor Cuomo's job said today that every decision made by the Cuomo administration is about politics and personal advancement. Republican gubernatorial candidate Rob Astorino was responding on the radio today to yesterday's reports that federal prosecutors have subpoenaed documents, computers, and BlackBerry smartphones from members of the Moreland Commission to see if there was any undue influence put on them by Cuomo's office. And joining us now to talk more about this, our political analyst, New York Post state editor Fred Dicker. And Fred, Astorino pulled no punches on this one. He is concerned that maybe somehow something is amiss here.
He was talking to me on my radio show today, and he was making the point, Liz, that I think you know a lot of people are making these days, including a lot of Democrats. In the first year and a half that Governor Cuomo was in office, it really did seem as if he was taking on a lot of the establishment and a lot of the kind of accepted shibboleths. But in recent months, for sure, it appears that almost everything he's doing, and this is the view of many Democrats as well as Republicans, along with Rob Astorino, everything he's doing is geared about his re-election campaign, trying to run up his votes as high as possible. And he's acting really in the best interest of himself and his political needs, maybe in terms of 2016, rather than in terms of what the public needs. And this Moreland Act dismissal, the Moreland Act Commission being fired a month and a half ago, is maybe one of the best examples of that.
Oh, and we actually have a soundbite from your interview with him on the radio we can listen into, talking about the idea of the sort of confiscation of these BlackBerries and the whole idea that these BlackBerries may have been used because they could not end up on a government server somewhere. So let's listen to that.
I think we finally get a look-see at what a, quote, transparent government looks like. Well, there's been no transparency from this governor's office. The fact that they were using BlackBerry Messenger so nothing shows up on the government servers is probably a direct violation of the Freedom of Information law and the archives and just the right of the public to know.
And certainly, as you mentioned, Fred, this is a governor who prided himself or made one of his topics of, his leadership points that he was going to be transparent. And it seems as if there is now a lot of questions about that.
Well, how many nights, Liz, have we heard in reports on here on Channel 6 and read in papers about a government agency, Andrew Cuomo, state government agency, declining or refusing to comment? We have such a lack of transparency that just a few days ago, the national journalistic group ProPublica did a story which it billed as an exclusive on the lack of transparency in the Cuomo administration. But this use of BlackBerries, which in fact allow a bypassing of government servers, as you noted, has been going on for a few years in the Cuomo administration. Many of the governor's top aides, not just people at the Moreland Commission, have been using BlackBerries. Partly, it appears, for that purpose.
Well, I know you also discussed with Astorino about a running mate, and what did he have to say about it? I missed the end of it, and that was probably the most interesting part in terms of what he was thinking and doing about that.
Well, I wish he had given something away, but what he did say is that his most recent pick, I'm just looking at his name now, Michael Battle, the former U.S. attorney from the Buffalo area, Western New York U.S. attorney, who interestingly enough is African-American, has not turned him down, can't run because he doesn't meet the 5-year legal residency requirement. He said he still doesn't have a pick. He's narrowed it down. He'll make a decision by the end of the week. Next week is a Republican conference, the nominating convention, so he has to have a pick by then. Another Western New Yorker, a woman, Jane Corwin, an assemblywoman, has apparently also turned him down. So he's trying to make a dramatic statement, or at least a bold statement. Perhaps a woman, African-American running mate, is looking for somebody upstate, but he hasn't found that person yet. And let me just note, Governor Cuomo is certainly expected to dump Bob Duffy, his lieutenant governor, so he's also looking to make a selection, and that would come the week after.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about this again to find out whether you do get a bump depending on who it is that you select. So we'll save that for another day, but thank you for your insight tonight. Fred's radio program, by the way, is live from the state capitol. It's weekday mornings 10 to 11 on Talk 1300 AM.